It is with a great sense of pleasure and humility that you are here today at the inaugural function of the first time ever Women's Spiritual Congregation Shakti Kumbh 2023, a 21-day event from February 12th till March 5th, including leading personalities, speakers, teachers, and authorities sharing their Indic knowledge systems, unique practices, and universal philosophy to all our students. We look forward to your continued support and gracious presence through the 21 days. I request Srimati Nilima Bhatt to kindly lead on stage Pujya Swamiji Brahmadevji, the founder of Oro Valley, and Pujya Sadhviji, Bhagavati Saraswati ji, spiritual leader, to the stage along with our conveners to light the auspicious lamp and mark the beginning of this great event. It is common practice in this great country of Bharat that at the beginning of any auspicious event, we seek the guidance, the blessings of all our gurus, lords, goddesses, and everybody to shower their blessings on us so that we may have not only a successful event, but all those who are participating and what they seek is what they receive. I request our conveners of Shakti Kumbh to kindly come and chant a few mantras so that we begin the morning with an invocation to all the mighty lords above.
या देवी सर्वभूतेषु विष्णुमायेति शब्दिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु बुद्धिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु कान्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु कान्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु लक्ष्मीरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु श्रद्धारूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु दयारूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु मातृरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शक्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शान्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः।
I request Nilima Bhatt to kindly come here and share her thoughts. She is a yogini and the co-convener and the founder of Shakti Leadership, and the author of the book also on Shakti leadership. I request Nilima to kindly come and share her thoughts and why she conceived something like this.
Jai Shri Ma. Now that the goddess herself has been invoked in each one of us, we are here in her field. I will just have a few words to begin with, invoking the words of Sri Aurobindo. And these words really are behind the original idea. India doesn't rise as other countries do for self or to be strong and trample over the weak. She is rising to shed over the world the eternal light entrusted to her. India has always existed for humanity and not for herself, and it is for humanity and not for herself that she must be great. The world waits for the rising of India to receive the divine flood in its fullness. If we have to realize this dream of India's renaissance, to come into her full power, her full Shakti, in order to serve as is her spiritual destiny in the world, then India needs to revitalize her own soul force, Bharata Shakti. India needs to revitalize the Shakti of the world for the world to go through its awakening and its renaissance. And in the Indic knowledge system, we understand Shakti as something that is held very deeply by women and in women's bodies. Shakti is available to all genders, but there is something about women and the power to give life that makes them access Shakti in a very immediate way, provided they are given the guidance and the know-how to do so. So it's with that intention that we said, if Shankaracharya several centuries ago set up the 4 mathas across India in the 4 corners for the revitalization of dharma at that time, when India was also floundering at that time, in the same way, could it be that the time has come for there to be Shakti centers in the 4 corners of India where women from all over the world can come and revitalize their own Shakti, contributing not just to the raising of Bharata Shakti, the Shakti of Mother India, but that of the world as well. And since it takes a lot to set up Shakti centers, the idea came, what if we do it like a Kumbh Mela, where it's a pop-up ashram. People from all over lineages and traditions of India for millennia have converged in 4 centers around Nasik and Ujjain and Haridwar and Prayagraj to revitalize Sanatan Dharma by sharing spiritual knowledge systems. What if we could set up a Shakti Kumbh, where Shakti and traditions of Shakti gather and ventilate and learn from each other and get revitalized in the process? So that was how the idea began. I came and met Swami Brahmdev ji. I spoke to Pujya Sadhvi ji. I spoke with Pujya Swami ji of Parmarth Ashram, who you're going to meet when we go there. And I said, how can we do this? Can we do a Shakti Kumbh? And we got a resounding yes from them. So really, it is to you that we owe the great honor and gratitude for having said yes to provide the space to do such a thing. And as part of this, the core of this is to set up an integral yogini teacher training course. There are lots of regular yoga teacher training courses, but where are we learning about Sri Vidya, about Kalavahana, about Tantra, about so many Shakti-based traditions? They don't really exist in a clear, coherent way. And this is how we have come together, all the conveners, Rahima, Sheetal, Rama. You're going to meet all of us over the next few weeks to put together the very first integral yogini teacher training course. So I'll not say more on that, but I will hand over to Rama. Would you like? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Nilima. I now request Rama Kandarbha, Sri Vidya Trust, Devipuram, to share her thoughts on her being one of the conveners of this mighty event.
Sri Matre Namaha. Namaste and welcome to all of you. When Tarama who sadly today is not able to be here, is one of the conveners of Shakti Kumbh. She wrote us an email saying that there is this idea to have a Shakti Kumbh, and we immediately jumped at the idea, because at Devipuram, through the Sri Vidya Trust, what we have been doing is propagating the knowledge around Sri Vidya to anybody and everybody who is interested in doing so. So as we got together, all these conveners from across the world, across different time zones, and trying to juggle our times in such a way that, we were trying to see what are those things that are needed to put together in this first ever Shakti Kumbh. What should the design be like? There are many ways in which you can do it, but we kind of arrived at a way in which we said, okay, let's have it panned over at least a minimum of 21 days. The original idea was, I think, 30 days or something like that. We said maybe 30 days might be too daunting. Let's look at something that's closer, like 21 days. And as we looked at that, we were also looking at, we need to see the Shakti Kumbh has to be and will be the womb, the divine womb from which the entire renaissance of Bharata Shakti has to emerge. So we need to have the representation of different traditions, different cultures, which are centuries old, which may not have the public, the public need not be necessarily aware of these traditions and all, but how do you get them to the public space and start sharing these with everybody? So that was the idea with which we kind of looked at who are the speakers that we would like to invite. And we actually contacted, I think, close to 100 different speakers and facilitators from across the world who have been teaching the Indic knowledge systems. We received quite a few people who were very interested in doing, sharing their knowledge, and some people who we were interested but unfortunately couldn't be here. But whatever has to be is today there for you. And so if you look at the kind of workshops, it's a huge and a rich array of workshops that are now here for all of us, whether you're here as an IYTTC participant or you're here just to partake of some of these workshops. So the design is you have a 21-day IYTTC running through, plus you also have people who can come for the 3-day, 5-day workshops, and just for a day and just soak in this rich knowledge. So we have had age-old traditions of Bharata in this country, this wisdom, and this wisdom is across different traditions like Sri Vidya. Sri Vidya is such a vast, it's an ocean of knowledge, and it's a very unique set of knowledge practices which have been hidden for many centuries. And it's only in recent past, maybe the past few decades, that this has come into the limelight. And we're talking about the Dashamahavidyas. I'm sure most of you would have heard about the Dashamahavidyas. The Kundalini Shakti, which is what most yoga practitioners would have heard of. The Sufi traditions, the Baul traditions, the Yoginis, and also different kinds of yogic practices and meditations. So these are all the ancient traditions and wisdom that we have had in our country. We're also looking at, the research and theory aspect around several traditions. So we have, in the Shakta tradition itself, we have several people or facilitators who are going to make us understand the science behind all of this. It's not just something, okay, somebody said something. No, there's a huge science behind all of this. How can we understand more of that? The Dashamahavidyas, again, lots of research has been done on those. Yoginis, we are all here as yoginis. So, but who is a yogini? There's a lot of research that has happened on this aspect as well. So we'll learn more about that. And Garbha Ritu Sanchalan, which we are very happy to be learning more about that. Mantra, Yantra, and Tantra, and all the Puranas and Itihasas that we have. So these are all, I would say, knowledge that is going to come into us in different ways. Some are through song and dance and theatre. So these are the different ways in which you are going to learn. But having learned all of this, now how are you or how are we all going to be putting it into practice? For that, we also have a set of contemporary practices which help us to understand ourselves as women, what is our identity as a woman, and also learning those day-to-day practices that we can start integrating into our own practices and awakening our own feminine power, and then further on help others also to come into this, because what we are starting to do here at the Shakti Kumbh is realizing our own true potential and awakening to that, but also the next step is also to spread this knowledge far and wide. So the outcomes of this Shakti Kumbh are not just today is just a first start. The ripples of this have to expand further and reach across the globe. And therefore, we need each and every one of us who is present here today and who is not here but will be viewing this videos which are going to be put up on YouTube and so on. So, we have hope to interest more and more people in this movement and bring back the divine feminine, which has been ignored for so many centuries, which has been hidden. And in fact, if you hear some of the stories that so many people have had a difficulty in reaching here, having planned for this event, there were so many obstacles put into our way, it's unbelievable. Yet, we are here. And we are here for a reason, and let's make that reason happen. Sri Matre Namaha, Sri Gurubhyo Namaha.
India's history and mythology made sure that almost all of us knew what's happening to us, knew what we had. We knew we are forgetting it, and now we know that we have to bring it back. So, in complete awareness, this country has been going through every stage of whatever has happened, stood with it, fought with it, indulged in it, and yet almost every time come out winning. This winning streak of our philosophy has kept it alive, I think, for centuries and for decades. Having said that, I think each one of you, when you stepped in here this morning, or some of you who came yesterday or the day before, would have just wondered at this most beautiful atmospherics that is available here, the kind of vibration that you get, the kind of calm, the beauty of the place, the trees and the buildings and the aesthetics, and the entire venue is so, can just make your mind calm down from wherever you have come. And the founder of this wonderful ashram is Swami Brahmdev Ji, the founder of Oro Valley Ashram of Rishi Dwar, as they call it, and he is carrying forward the legacy of Guru Sri Aurobindo and the mother. I welcome him, sir, and thank him for having given us this beautiful venue and this whole place with all its power and energy to enable us to really pull off something like this. I request Nilima to kindly felicitate him with a small token of our appreciation. जय हो। मैं स्वामी जी से रिक्वेस्ट करती हूँ कि वो आके अपने वाणी से हमें आलोकित करें और share his wonderful divine thoughts with all of us and give us his blessings.
Jai Ma, Jai Shri Ma. Always life gives some beautiful opportunities to learn, to grow, to progress. So we are all here to learn here and to make the best use of this opportunity. Shakti means the force and consciousness of the divine. And Oro Valley, this ashram, is a living laboratory to make experiments how to awake all these hidden powers and how to play with the forces and how to use these forces for a constructive work, how to awake and how to manifest the highest potential which we are carrying. So, Mother is a living presence everywhere, in everybody, in everything. But how to open that? And there is a very simple secret, and that is Ma. Just repeat this word Ma, and this force will immediately, she will awake. Like Ma is a secret, is a like a key to open the doors of the hidden powers in us. So here, from last so many years, with this simple word of Ma and living with the Ma is inside us. Somebody asked to the mother, where you live? Mother said, I am you. So only the mother exists. Except mother, there is nothing. Except consciousness, there is nothing. And the highest power, which can make our life useful, fulfill the purpose of our existence, is the growth of consciousness. How to grow consciousness, how to awaken consciousness. And this whole life is just evolution, a game, a process. And through all this life, up, downs, and all kind of environment, atmosphere, circumstances, situations, what life gives to us, the main reason, the main purpose is only nature is preparing us, awakening in us, and making us, preparing us to manifest, to create this creation more better, to make this creation more better. So that is the main, but little bit I know, is the purpose to take birth. And here we will do in these few days many experiments to awaken that hidden power in us with so many different tricks, with so many different ways. And what Mother said to awaken these powers, you yourself is responsible, what you are, and you yourself, if you can little bit become aware of yourself, just if you can little bit become sincere with yourself, all these forces they will start awakening in you. Sincerity is the central key to awaken these forces. Naturality, simplicity, they are the things which are missing. And that's why we are not able to live with our fullness, with the divine fullness. So how to become sincere, how to become natural, how we can be more like a simple in everything, simple in all the movements of our life, sincere in all the movements of our life, and how we can constantly aspire for this. Aspiration, always, how this life can be useful for the divine, how we can always remember the divine. And that is the central secret of this game. To open yourself, always remember the divine, force is always there with us. So, I hope that this golden opportunity here will enlighten all of us and make our life more useful, meaningful, joyful, blissful. And that is the need on this earth. This present moment is a golden period for those who want to grow, who want to learn, who want to progress. All are welcome. Very, very blessings, and hope that life will give us beautiful moments to enjoy this. Thank you very much.
Swamiji is so adept at giving us the most complicated thoughts in the most simple manner. And this is something that I have experienced maybe since 2014, a couple of times whenever I visited here and I've sat through satsang. And I found that when somebody asks a very, very tough question, the answer would be very simple. And I always thought that this is the need of the hour, that we move out all the complications of the mind and the world and try and understand what we have and what we want or what we need and how to get it in the most simple fashion. And you just heard his wonderful speech and how calm and how beautifully he just came across with some of the most, mind-breaking philosophies of this country. I request Nilima to welcome on behalf of Shakti Kumbh Pujya Sadhvi Bhagavati Saraswati Ji, spiritual leader of Paramarth Ashram, also the Secretary General for the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance and the President of the Divine Shakti Foundation. I request to please welcome Pujya Sadhvi Ji. It's a great honor for all of us, and it's a blessing for all the students and all of us who are here to have Pujya Sadhvi Ji here and bless us with her wonderful words and divine words.
Pujya Swami Ramdev Ji Maharaj, our beloved, Shakti infused conveners, organizers, Usha Ji, Nirmala Ji, Tara Ji, who isn't here physically but is here in heart and spirit and has been also a beautiful organizing and convening Shakti up till now, and all of the rest of the team of Shakti who have brought all of us together. It's such a joy and such a blessing to be together. I remember back in June, last week of June, I had just left India for the United States for some programs, and I was speaking to Pujya Swamiji, Pujya Swami Chidanand Saraswati Ji, the head of Paramarth Niketan, my guru, and he mentioned that he had just had these beautiful Shaktis come to see him. Nilima Ji had come, Usha Ji had come, Tara Ji had come, and they had spoken with him about this Shakti Kumbh, and that this was now going to be taking place. And here we are, just 6-7 months later, actually gathered on the banks of Mother Ganga in this sacred land for this Kumbh that has manifest. And that's the power of Shakti. This energy, this divine energy of manifestation. The melodious and beautiful conveners who chanted at the very beginning that sacred mantra that says, Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu. Then we'll just fill in the blank for a moment. Whether we say Shakti Rupen Sanstita, Namastasye, 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 Namo Namaha. But that blank that I just filled in with Shakti, I didn't count how many times they chanted, but they chanted many, many times, maybe 15, 20, 25 times. A different word each time, meaning a different manifestation of that power of Shakti. And wherever you hear that mantra being chanted, you'll hear them using different words, whether it's in the form of peace, shanti, whether it's in the form of our intellect, buddhi, whether it's in the form of daya, compassion, giving. Whatever form it may be in, or the form of the goddess, Ma Lakshmi. But there's this almost infinite number of different forms that we pray to just in that simple mantra. Or you can chant the 1,000 names of the Mother Goddess. The names are infinite. Even though when we sit and we chant the Sahasranam, the 1,000 names, but we could go on. Could be 2,000, could be 3,000, could be 10,000, could be 100,000. Because the manifestations of that Shakti are infinite. But it is that power, that divine feminine power of creation, of sustenance. One of the things I love about the Hindi language is that unlike the English language, it actually has masculine and feminine determinants. So in English, a table is just a table. A chair is just a chair, a book is just a book. But in Hindi, they actually have, all of the nouns have, much like French or Spanish, they have a masculine or feminine determinant to it. So everything is either masculine or feminine. And the word for creation, Shrishti, is feminine. The word for nature, Prakriti, feminine. The word for the power that brings creation into creation, Shakti, feminine. So that which is created is feminine. The energy through which it is created is feminine. That's an extraordinary thing to realize when you look at something that goes as deep and as ancient as the language, the teachings of the scriptures. But remember, it is power manifest. And I make this distinction because during the next several weeks, you're going to have such beautiful opportunities to dive into this wisdom tradition, as Ushaji, as Nilimaji have spoken to you about already, to dive into the sacred, the ancient wisdom traditions around Shakti. But remember that Shakti is not formless knowledge. It's not just ideas floating around in the ether. It's not facts and figures that we memorize in order to give back on some exam or in a teaching that we give someone else to show them how wise we may have become. It is power manifest. So it is that wisdom manifest through each of you. There's no one right way to manifest Shakti. You are not here to learn to become Shakti. You already are Shakti. You are not here to learn what is the right way to be the Shakti. It would be like saying to this microphone that the right way to manifest electricity was in the lights or the camera or the toaster or the blender rather than in giving sound. These are each tools, they're instruments. Through the microphone, electricity manifests as sound. Through the lights, it manifests as light. Through a toaster, it manifests as toast. But the energy is the power. And none of them is better or worse or higher or lower or right or not so right. The toaster isn't dreaming of becoming a microphone. The camera is not having an inferiority complex over the light bulb. Because each one of them is manifesting that energy of electricity as per their role, what we would call our dharma, here on earth. We have these beautiful, beautiful flower malas, and in the mala, like in a flower garden. There's so many different types of flowers. Nature manifest, Prakriti. Roses, jasmine, sunflowers, gardenias. Each of them exquisite and perfect. Each of them full and complete manifestations of that power of creation. The rose isn't dreaming over becoming a jasmine. The gardenia is not having a complex over how big the sunflower is. None of them is wishing that it were the other, feeling better, feeling worse, feeling higher, feeling lower. And as you're here, remember that, because you're going to study and learn about and see so many amazing manifestations of Shakti, both in this room as well as throughout history. But remember, each of you is the most perfect, whole, complete vehicle through which that Shakti is manifesting as you. So we are gathered here to remove our blocks to the flow of Shakti. Because it is us, it's in us. But we block it. We block it through the issues of the mind that say, oh, if only I were taller or thinner or fairer or tanner or more beautiful or older or younger or richer or more successful. If only I had more followers on Facebook, if only this, if only that. That way of thinking is that which blocks the flow of Shakti. And so my very humble and very, very sincere and deep request of all of you here, as I look out and I see my sisters, some brothers, but mostly sisters, is to remember that we are not manifesting Shakti in isolation. We are growing together from the same soil into the same universe, interwoven. I come originally from California. I've been in India for the last 26 years. But my favorite trees in the world, even though the Himalayas are my favorite mountains, my favorite trees are still those that grow in California, the redwoods. And they're my favorite trees for many reasons, but I'll share just one of them now in the interest of time, which is the redwood trees are the tallest trees in the world, the oldest trees in the world. Many of them are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, even 1,000 years old, and hundreds of feet tall. And they grow in a land that is subject to earthquakes and fires and mudslides year after year after year. And yet they stand. One would think that in order to stand, their roots would have to be very, very deep into the earth. But the secret of the redwoods that I share with you today is that actually their roots are not very deep, but they are interwoven with the roots of every other redwood tree in the forest. And what keeps those forests standing so strong, so tall for so long is not the individual depth of the roots, but the interconnection of the system of roots between them. My sisters, you've been called from across the world to the lap of Mother Ganga. Not only to grow your individual roots into this sacred land, but to interweave, intertwine, interconnect your roots to each other into a sisterhood of Shakti, through which each of us and all of the women and girls, the different manifestations of Shakti around the world will be able to grow strong and tall in their own blossoming, in their own way. And lastly, we'll have more time to share throughout these weeks, but just lastly for today, we've all been speaking about Shakti. But I wanted to speak for just a quick moment about Kumbh. What is Kumbh? I see my sisters from around the world sitting here. What is Kumbh? Right? Well, Kumbh is a pot of the nectar of immortality. That's what the word means. Every 12 years, in each of 4 sacred places in India, we celebrate what's called the Kumbh Mela, the festival. Mela just means a festival. The festival of the pot of nectar of immortality. Now, it's not about the physical body becoming immortal. It's not about take a bath in these sacred rivers and suddenly God is going to make you the exception to the rule and your matter will not degenerate. Your matter will not go back to the elements. Your matter will, against all laws of nature, exist forever. No. The nectar of immortality is not some reverse aging or anti-aging pill or cream or whatnot. It's a divine awareness and experience that the truth of who you are is immortal. That's the immortality that this sacred pot of nectar gives us. It's the immortality that we get in the sacred baths in Ma Ganga, in the sacred Sangam during the Mela. And that's what you are here to discover. As human beings, but especially as women, we are so conditioned to believe that we are our bodies. The sizes, the shape, the color, the age, the dimensions. Kumbh is the nectar of immortality through which we realize I am not the body. I was never born, I will never die. I am soul, I am spirit, I am divinity. I am love, I am truth, I am Shakti. That for a few years has taken form in this particular body, but existed throughout eternity before this body, will continue to exist long after this body. That is the nectar of immortality you are here to experience. There's a beautiful mantra, and I'll conclude with this. Beautiful mantra that we chant that says, Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamsoma Jyotir Gamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. And it means, oh God, lead us from the falsehood of separation into the truth of oneness. Lead us from the darkness of ignorance in which we suffer and bring suffering unto others, into the light of truth. Lead us, and this is the part about the immortality, lead us from the false identification with this physical body that is born, that changes, that perishes, to the real, true awareness of our identity as that which never perishes. So as you're here in this sacred land, dive into Shakti and dive into the Kumbh, that nectar of immortality, that truth of the Shakti of who you are. as I began, it's such a beautiful blessing to be here, such a beautiful honor, and we look so forward to welcoming you in just a few short days, couple of weeks, to Parmarth Nikathan, just upriver a little bit, where you'll be with us, I think, from the 20th onward. So dive into the sacred waters here, then you'll come upriver, dive into the sacred waters there. Interconnected, interwoven, interlinked, as one cohesive sisterhood of Shakti. Thank you.
The power of Shakti, power of the woman. I'm reminded today of a 17th century composition of a great saint poet of south of India, who said to Lord Rama, one of the incarnation of Vishnu, that should you have not married Sita, you would not have been a king. Ma Janaki, our Janaki or Sita, Chettapataka, had you not held her hand and married her, Maharaju Vaitivo, would you have ever been a king? This was in the 17th century. We can go through any number of compositions, poetry, literature, way back, and even in the times of Adi Shankaracharya, when he composed some of the greatest descriptions of Mother Goddess, whether it was in Banaras or whether it was in the south of India, wherever he went, he composed something, including the Sharda, Peetham at Kashmir. We've seen that the seers of this country have dropped into the soil every aspect of Shakti. They have constantly told us the power of Shakti. They have described the beauty of Shakti. At every given time, we have been hearing more and more about it. People have written about it. But then the human brain has its own limitations, So in case every time that we tend to forget what we have, reminders are sent to us. Just like we do this on the WhatsApp, gentle reminder, So every time the powers above us send gentle reminders. Very recently in 2017, the Kumbh Mela was nominated as one of the greatest elements in UNESCO. And why? And what was it said about Kumbh Mela? That a team of people from across the world sat in a meeting in Namibia and decided that Kumbh Mela should be nominated in UNESCO. So what was it? And there were just 3-4 lines that were put together as a description. So here was the world's largest human gathering, peaceful and spiritual, which discussed spiritual doctrines, and the gathering was with no invitation. Now, this was the crux of it, that here is something that happens in a country called India, where at certain given points in years, people congregate. You have spiritual leaders, common man, women, children, everybody congregating. Doctrines are discussed to take the world forward. So what happened some centuries ago is not going to work today. So every time there were discussions and there were thoughts and there were decisions and how to take it forward. So this kept happening over thousands of years. And this sacred pot of nectar, from which during a tussle between the negative and the positive forces, a few drops fell on Mother Earth, and the spots where they fell, those drops, are the locations where the Kumbh Mela is celebrated. So this beautiful picture of nectar was then taken back by the gods or the positive forces, and a few drops of that fell during the tussle on this beautiful earth. And that's why everybody congregates, because just a drop of that nectar, wherever it fell, is the location where these innumerable, unaccountable human beings congregate to discuss spirituality. So that was the Kumbh Mela, and when the discussion of Shakti Kumbh came up, the idea that the women of this universe get to congregate, discuss and learn and share doctrines and bring together a spiritual movement akin to something that is already happening in this great country, and that is why the word Kumbh came into Shakti. Shakti leadership was followed by the Shakti Kumbh. So with this little bit of explanation, I thank each one of you for coming here today. We will be proceeding with a short dance exposition by a very well-known dancer and her two associates from New Delhi. In keeping in line with what is happening here today and is going to happen in the next few days, we just thought that it would be ideal if we could bring a few short expositions through the medium of dance that portrays Shakti. We've selected the style of Kathak this morning, which is a very popular dance, classical dance form from the north of India. And presenting this to us is one of the alumni of the very well-known center of Kathak in New Delhi, which is Kathak Kendra, and her two associates who are going to join her. Varsha Dasgupta is a very well-known not only practitioner but also teaches and a wonderful choreographer. It's been wonderful that I've had a couple of opportunities to work with her at different times, and we've done some very interesting work, not only in her own style but also amalgamating other classical forms of India. Many of the young dancers today have the ability to translate and move in different directions vis-a-vis traditional thought. Almost 100% of our Indian classical forms, whether it's music or dance, is intrinsically knit with philosophy and mythology and the great thoughts of this country. And so somebody one day said to me, "Oh, Indian dance is all about gods and goddesses." Well, it is. It is, and it's a great pride that we celebrate our gods and goddesses. And if we had not celebrated them, then there is no Shakti and there is no Shiva and there is no primordial sound that he created for this whole universe to have some meaning. So with the stories of the gods and goddesses, with the learnings that we have from their experiences and the episodes that happened in their life, we have understood that this is something that needs to be propagated and to be shared with everybody. You don't have to be a dancer or you don't have to be trained to understand what it is. It's just a language. You don't need to understand any language. I just returned from Moscow in Russia, and I was there for 3 years, and I barely knew Russian, but they all loved Indian dance and they understood what we were doing. We didn't have to do too much of explanation because they just looked at it and they understood it. And that is the power of the medium of dance. I went to see the Bolshoi Theatre, but I didn't have to learn Russian for that. I could just see and understand the whole story of Swan Lake. The music tells you what it is, the dance tells you what it is. So these are languages, just like what we are using today. For want of a better language, since we have so many international guests, I'm forced to speak in an alien language to me, English. But having said that, we're using it for communication and I'm aware of it. We will begin this short recital this morning. We're calling it Shakti Gatha because we're trying to portray many stories of Shakti through different pieces. So the first piece is called Devi Stuti. Stuti primarily meaning in praise of. Here the dancers portray Devi in her most pious and pure forms. Through themselves they offer flowers and seek obeisance to the goddess. And we see how the aura of Shakti, how her eyes have imbibed the sun, the moon and the stars, and how the lords of the universe, whether it's Brahma, Vishnu or Maheshwara, they all look up to her. Interestingly woven together, performed by Varsha Dasgupta, Tushti Som and Shubhanshi Jain. This is composed by one of our very great leading gurus of Kathak, Guru Geetanjali Lal. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you Devi Stuti.
जय भगवती देवी नमो वरदे वरदे जय भगवती देवी नमो वरदे वरदे जय पाप विनाशिनी बहुफल दे जय पाप विनाशिनी बहुफल दे जय भगवती देवी नमो वरदे वरदे जय भगवती देवी नमो वरदे वरदे जय शुंभ निशुंभ कपाल धरे जय शुंभ निशुंभ कपाल धरे प्रणमामि तु देवी निरत हरे जय भगवती देवी नमो वरदे वरदे जय चंद्र दिवाकर नेत्र धरे जय चंद्र दिवाकर नेत्र धरे जय पावक भूषित वक्र वरे जय पावक भूषित वक्र वरे जय भैरवा देह नीलेन परे जय भैरवा देह नीलेन परे जय अंधाक देत विशोष करे जय भगवती देवी नमो वरदे वरदे जय भगवती देवी नमो वरदे वरदे जय महेश विमर्दिनी शूल करे जय महेश विमर्दिनी शूल करे जय लोक समस्तक पाप करे जय लोक समस्तक पाप करे जय देवी पितामह पेशुनते जय देवी पितामह पेशुनते जय भास्कर शक्र शिरोवनते जय भगवती देवी नमो वरदे वरदे जय भगवती देवी नमो वरदे वरदे जय पाप विनाशिनी बहुफल दे
या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शक्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः।
Just like many of the composers of the world have composed specific and interesting music for the seasons, heralding the different seasons, India too has its most traditional. In fact, our divine music was composed by some great composers maybe hundreds of years ago on the different ritus or the different seasons of our country. And while we are just stepping into summer and another auspicious season for us is when the clouds shower their blessings on this earth after a dry patch, and we see the birth of sprouts coming in from Mother Earth. And that's a joy for Mother Earth when these little sprouts just spring up when those beautiful droplets fall from the cloud. So we are trying to show you a picture of Varsha Mangal, the auspiciousness of rain. The dancer actually commences with the arrival of the season, showing interesting aspects of how this season is also termed as the season of joy, the season of love, the season of the monsoons. So the music composition is by Guru Gitanjali Lal, and the dancer for this piece is Varsha Das Gupta. Varsha Mangal.
बिजुली चमके बरसे मेहा, बिजुली चमके बरसे मेहा, बिजुली चमके बरसे मेहा, बिजुली चमके बरसे मेहा, छाए बदरिया गरज गरज तही डरावे, छाई बदरिया गरज गरज तही डरावे, बिजुली चमके बरसे मेहा, बिजुली चमके बिजुली चमके बरसे मेहा, बिजुली चमके बरसे मेहा। बिजुली चमके
The next item is Jag Janani Devi. Jag, as all of you understand, is the universe. Janani, the one who gives birth, is Devi. Here we see Devi in her most powerful form. Giving birth is, I think, the greatest power that the universe has bestowed on the fair sex, as I would like to call them. The dancers, through the choreography, try to portray the grandeur of Devi, the beauty, her aura, the way she looks, the way she moves, the glow that is around her, and the power of protecting every living being, little or big. She has the power of protection for all of them. And from whom does she protect all of them? From the negative forces, or in the mythological term, the asuras, or the demons, as we can translate in English. But the negative forces have never been able to fight across the power of Shakti. So Jagat Janani Devi, presented by our three dancers. I hope that all of you are liking and enjoying this, the portrayal of Shakti in the medium of dance. Jag Janani Devi.
Jai Jai Jagat Janani Devi, Surya Nara Muni Rasura Sevi, Bhakti Mukti Dari Devai Bharati Kali Sa. Mangala Mudu Siddhi Sadali Parma Sharva Desha Padani Tapa Timir Taruna Tarani Kirana Malika.
जय जय जग जननी देवी सुर नर मुनि असुर सेवी भक्ति मुक्ति दायिनी भय हरणी कालिका
जय जय जग जननी देवी सुर नर मुनि असुर सेवी भक्ति मुक्ति दायिनी भय हरणी कालिका
मंगल सिद्धि सरणि
पर्व शर्वरी शबदनि तापति मिर तरुण तरणि किरण मालिका
जय जय जग जननी देवी सुर नर मुनि असुर सेवी
भक्ति मुक्तिदायिनी भयहरणि कालिका मंगल मुद सिद्धि सदनि पर्वशर्वरीश वदनि तापति मीर तरुण तरणि किरण मालिका जय जय जग जननी देवी चर्म कर कृपाल सूल से धनुष बाण गरजा निरमा गरजा धरि धर्मा वर्म चर्म कर कृपाल सूल से धनुष बाण धरणि धरणि दानवदल रण करालिका पूतना पिशाच प्रेत डाकिनी साकिनी समेत भूत ग्रह विदार खग मृगाली जालिका जय जय जग जननी देवी सुर नर मुनि असुर सेवी भक्ति मुक्ति दायिनी भयहरणि कालिका मंगल मुद सिद्धि सदनि पर्वशर्वरीश वदनि तापति मीर तरुण तरणि किरण मालिका जय जय जग जननी देवी जय महेश भामिनी अनेक रूप नामिनी निरमा गरजा धनि धर्मा जय महेश भामिनी अनेक रूप नामिनी समस्त लोक स्वामिनी मसैल बालिका रघुपति पद परम प्रेम तुलसी यह चलनेम देव वै प्रसन्न पाहि प्रणत बालिका जय जय जग जननी देवी सुर नर मुनि असुर से भक्ति मुक्ति दायिनी भयहरणि कालिका जय जय जग जननी देवी सुर नर मुनि असुर सेवी भक्ति मुक्ति दायिनी भयहरणि कालिका मंगल मुद सिद्धि सदनि पर्वशर्वरीश वदनि तापति मीर तरुण तरणि किरण मालिका किरण मालिका किरण मालिका
And I request one of our conveners, Rama Kandarpa, to felicitate Varsha Das Gupta. Varsha, can you join us on stage along with your associates? On behalf of Kumbh Shakti Kumbh, we'd like to felicitate. As I said, for want of time, we are going to move on to the next part of our morning, which was the keynote address. First of all, I thank the organizers for inviting me for such a wonderful occasion. I am very grateful and very honored to be here. And the second thing is I welcome all of you. I am admiring you. You must be suffering from jet lag. You must be exhausted. You must be tired. You must be wanting to just curl up and sleep. And here you are, so bravely watching all this and Well, I wish you a wonderful 3 weeks ahead. I hope you're rested and I hope you're invigorated after today. And I will start now with what is left for me to say. I would like to talk a little bit about Shakti, even though some of the things have already been said. I feel that Shakti, being such a multidimensional word concept, it is going to have the same kind of future like two other words that have become global, karma and dharma. And everybody is just going to be using it flippantly and non-flippantly in their lexicon, in their vocabulary. This is what's going to happen with Shakti. When once all of you go out and once this is such a big success, which I have no doubt it's going to be, people are going to talk about experiencing Shakti in English and in many other languages. But it's very difficult, like many words are, it's very difficult to translate this word. This word is so rooted in the Indic civilizational grounds that it's difficult to translate it, and it's loosely translated as energy, kinetic energy, power, strength, words like that. But one thing that one cannot forget, and never forget, it is basically feminine in nature. It is said that men also have it, they can raise it, but it is basically, when you talk about Shakti, it is feminine in nature. And that is the first characteristic that I think all of us should keep in mind. So even though we say men also have the Shakti within them, that is there, but it is feminine, basically. Secondly, what I'd like to say is Shakti is something that it's all senses, because you can sense it when you go to a sacred landscape, for instance. You can sense it when you dip your toes in the Ganga or in any of the holy rivers that we have in this country. You can sense it. You can sense it when you go into a temple. You can see it in the eyes of an icon when you go into a temple. You can see it very rarely also on the face of a human being. And it's just absolutely awe-inspiring when you see it. It's like an electric shock goes through you. You don't know how to describe that feeling that you saw Shakti on some human being's face. So you can see it, you can feel it, you can sense it. What it then makes me believe is that Shakti is basically subjective. Shakti, the feeling of Shakti, is basically experiential. It is something that you will experience. You and only you can experience it. And very often, there will not be any words for you to describe what you just felt. The third point on Shakti that I'd like to put forward is that it appears to be something that you can ask the gods for. You can say, I remember growing up, in my growing up years, I used to hear my mother always cry out at times of distress, "Hey Bhagwan, mujhe Shakti do. Dear God, give me Shakti." And I used to wonder as a child, what is this thing that she's going to get called Shakti and that's going to help this dire situation? And apparently it did. It was something like, I thought it was something like quick thinking and, something like being very enterprising, and to be able to deal with that particular horrible situation that had arisen when she used to ask the gods for, "Hey Bhagwan, mujhe Shakti do." In the 1970s, there was this very famous song, "Humko man ki Shakti dena, man vijay kare." So, we all love that song. And it's like you can ask for the gods for Shakti. That is one way to get Shakti. You can pray for it, you can ask for it, you can cry for it. Another way, of course, is what you all are going to go through very extreme and yogic, very technical yogic practices, breathing practices. You will be able to derive, to get the Shakti within you to rise through the Kundalini Shakti, as we all know about. All of you are practitioners here. So that's another way that you can experience Shakti. And so prayer and yogic practices are ways to experience Shakti. And sometimes you don't even need that. Like I said, you can just call out and you can experience Shakti. The fourth thing that I'd like to say is Shakti is the goddess. So Shakti is the goddess. We've talked about it being a feeling. We talked about it being something that you can ask for from the gods, but Shakti is the goddess. And when we look at goddess worship in India, it goes back to Neolithic times. But we're not absolutely sure, because when we look at Neolithic figurines, we look at Indus Valley civilization's figurines, which go back to 3000 BC, they're just these small cultic objects. And we're not sure the historians said they are mother goddesses and they are Shakti, but you can't really say that because the script has not been deciphered. satisfactorily. So how can you just say that it's a mother goddess? And in any case, this constant, referral to mother, like as if maternity or being maternal was the main aspect of the Shakti goddess or the goddess in Indic civilizations. We don't really think that's the case. So after Indus Valley civilization, we come to the oldest text in the world, that is the Rig Veda. Now, even though there's no such goddess that we see later, like Durga or Kali, we do find the concept of Shakti existing in the 10th mandala in verse number 125, which is called the Vak Stuti. And that is where Vak Ambrini is experiencing herself as the goddess. And it is so powerful, it is so wonderful. I would suggest that you read it time and again. And if you read it 3 times, you're going to feel so shocked that you won't believe it. She just says, I travel with the Vasus, I travel with the Rudras, I'm up in the skies, I'm touching the heavens. Each human being in this world is close to me. I know the truth. I am the queen. I am the gatherer of wealth. I am mighty. It's like self-assertion. They keep saying that you have to keep asserting things to yourself in order to feel strong. In the Rig Veda, you already find that happening. So these kind of positive affirmations that she's saying, I am this, I am that. And it's marvelous because in the Rig Vedic period or in the Rig Vedic text, we find that male gods predominate, not female divinities. Female divinities are there. You have Aranyi, you have Prithvi, you have Saraswati, but they don't have that many hymns, dedicated to them. They're not really prominent. It is very, very patriarchal in a way. But yet this one, if I want to trace Shakti by historically looking at it, I would say that let's go to the Rig Veda and let's go to that particular hymn, because you can see the concept already taking birth there. And then eventually, in the 2nd century BC, we find small stone images of a female grappling with a buffalo. And we don't see her being written about in any of the Sanskrit texts till we come right till the 6th century CE. When we come to the 6th century, also known as 6th century AD, and we come to the most marvelous text, which was danced also, which was performed also, the Devi Mahatmya. The Devi Mahatmya gets its strength by being placed into the Markandeya Puran, roughly, a certain number of chapters. So it's in a Puranic text, which is Purans are scriptures, and you hear about the Devi. And oh my God, what a Devi. What a Devi who just relishes war. She laughs loud, she quaffs wine, she just destroys the demons one after the other. Nushumba, Nishumba, Madhu Ketab, you have Rakta Bija, you have Mahishasura, from which she gets her name, Mahishasura Mardani. And you just find that she is the battle queen, she is the battle goddess. Nothing else, she doesn't need any males. If she needs help, the help will come from her forehead, from where Kali will emerge. Chamunda will emerge. She will get help from her own female friends, the female cohorts. Yes, some patriarchy is there because we are told that Devi herself was created from the tejas of the male gods. Okay? But, other texts say differently. Nevertheless, she is very strong. She is Shakti. And even if she is created from the tejas, it's the Shakti that she resides in the Shakti of the male gods, and so that is what is being created. So when you read the Devi Mahatmya, which I would suggest once again, it is a wonderful text. It is full, it is replete with Shakti. And the imagery is absolutely mind-blowing. And the sense of humor that our ancients had. When she strikes people, the demons, the asuras are so happy that without their heads, trunkless, they're dancing away. After dying, they're dancing away on the battlefield because they've been struck by the goddess herself. That's how much power Shakti has. So it's very nice to read. And of course, all the Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu, all of this is in the Devi Mahatmya. Well, all these verses which epitomize Shakti. So when we come to this goddess, we find then by Devi Mahatmya, by the time of 6th century, you will find so many Purans dedicated. They are Shaktic in nature, like the Devi Bhagavad Puran and so many others, the Kali Puran. So many Purans are there. So she has arrived on the Sanskrit scene, on the Brahminical scene. She's no longer among the Aboriginal population. She's no longer among the indigenous population. She's no longer among the population which is not very acceptable. She has been accepted into the Brahminical fold. And then you see her everywhere. Now I would like to bring the Devi, before I talk about the yoginis, I would like to bring her into the domestic sphere.
We always think about Durga, Kali as being Shaktik. But what about Durga, Kali when they get married? When they're married to Shiva? Then what happens? Now, again, when you go back to the Purans, you go to the Vayu Puran, Skand Puran, Shiva Puran, Ling Puran, Padma Puran, there are wonderful verses describing the relationship between Shiva and Shakti. Wonderful descriptions. Shiva cannot live without Shakti, Shakti cannot live without Shiva. All this, we hear about this constantly. Once they get married, they live a lovely life and they do various things. They adorn each other with flowers. They're involved in aquatic sports. They go swimming together. They're up in the mountains. They go riding on Nandi, the bull, together. I wanted to show the slides. There are beautiful slides depicting Shiva and Shakti on the Nandi bull riding together. So a lot of the things that I'm saying are illustrated in the sculpture that I wanted to show to you. So they do all these things together. And they have these discussions, intellectual discussions. There are wonderful images where she has her hand like this and she's listening to him, or he has his hand, because both of them, she's also Shakti after all. She also has an ego. She also has knowledge. So she shares her knowledge with Shiva and Shiva shares his knowledge with Shakti. But sometimes, just sometimes, they get into trouble. And like any married couple, they fight with each other and they banter with each other. And one of them is one of the verses, or one of the episodes that I'd like to talk about, is very well known, is when they are playing Chaucer, which is earlier game of chess. Chess evolved from Chaucer. And when they're playing this board game together, then it's usually Shiva, because he's supposed to be the mightiest. It's usually Shiva who wins. But just now and then, and in one particular Puran, I found that Parvati is winning. And as she's winning, all his cronies sitting around him, like Narad Muni and others, Bringi, etc., they are all telling her that she's cheating. How can you win? Shiva is the greatest. Who do you think you are? And this is actually the kind of conversation in the Puran. And she just keeps quiet and she keeps winning. And when she wins, she just looks at Shiva and says, take off that crescent moon that is on your head, which he loves. He's Chandrasekhara. He loves this crescent moon. She says, take it off. He takes it off. She annulates it, makes it into an earring, and she puts it on her ear. Then she looks at him and she says, okay, take off the snake. She doesn't like them, the slithering. She puts them on the side. Okay, now Rudraksh, put them on the side. One by one, she takes off everything from him. And then it comes to his loincloth. And she says, take off the loincloth. Now, can you imagine that is Shakti? In a marital relationship, can you imagine her saying that? But better sense prevails. That's when Shiva, who was quiet all this time, who is a wonderful husband, then he says, what kind of wife are you and what will the world say? Me roaming around without any clothes on? Then she gets her chance. She said, you are known to be doing that and going to Daruvan. And what happened in Daruvan when all the sages' wife came running behind you because you were without any clothes? So they had this bantering and she said, keep it on. Keep your loincloth on. But, she shows her anger. She shows her Shakti in the relationship between the two of them. Another episode is when he's calling her Kali. He says, you're Kali. After many, centuries of lovemaking, they're entwined with each other. And she says, I'm like white sandalwood tree, but you're like a black serpent entwined around the sandalwood tree. She said, you're calling me Kali. You're the one who's Mahakal. So there's a punning going on Mahakal. She said, I'm not Kali, you're Mahakal. And she doesn't go rushing to become Gauri. In many episodes, because there's so many Purans, in many episodes she goes running to, like a celestial beauty parlor to go and become fair skin. And she comes back after many years after doing tapas and she's Gauri. Okay, and he accepts her. But when I was making a movie for foreign audiences, my director said, please don't, as it is, India is known as being a racist society, please don't quote this. I said, but it's so funny because she says, you're Mahakal, I'm not Kali, and they're fighting with each other. No, you can't, because Indians are, as it is, Badnaam, because they are very racist in nature. Anyway, so the third episode, which is absolutely the ultimately shows her Shakti, is when, Shiva is actually an ascetic. Like I wrote in one of my books, one of my titles is The Reluctant Family Man. He is a reluctant family man. He does not want to get married. For his devotees, he has had to get married because creation has to continue. And what could not be better than Shiva and Shakti getting together and having offsprings, and the world will continue with the two of them getting married. Right? So he gets married. After some years of marriage and playing Chaucer and doing all the lovely things they want, Parvati or Shakti eventually tells him that I want to have a child. And he says, I don't want to have a child. He keeps running away from her. Again, a lot of fighting, arguing takes place. He says, I am Aja. I am Aja. I have never been born. I will never die. Why do men want sons? Men want sons so they can light the cremation fire. I will never die. I do not want to have a son. I do not want to have a child, and I am not going to, therefore, copulate have full copulation so that you have a child. So she sits, and what he does is usually Shiva has to take back his strength from time to time. So he goes back into the jungles, into the forest, and leaves her alone for long periods. And she's very lonely. Very often you hear her complaining in the Purans to her friends Jaya and Vijaya and saying, I'm so lonely, I need to have a child. And she goes there thinking and ponderously, just sitting there after she has put all the unguents on her body, like we put besan and we put mud and we put milk, and she had put that on her body. She's having a bath. And she takes that all mel off her body, and that has got a lot of different meanings behind it, which I won't go into right now. She takes the mel off her body and she makes a cute little putla of a boy. And she finds him so cute, and she is Shakti after all. She insufflates it with her own breath, and she makes him come alive, and that's her son, Ganesha. Now, I won't go on what happens when Shiva comes. What I'm trying to state right now is her Shakti is so great that she can even create a god, such a popular god like Ganesha. A little bit I will have to say how he comes and you all know the story. He comes and he decapitates the little boy because he doesn't know who he is. And the little boy doesn't know who Shiva is. Remember, he has been born, Parvati has given born that wonderful English word parthenogenetically without the help of a male. And historians and anthropologists believe that maybe this legend goes back to a time when it was actually not known what was the role that men played in reproduction. They just found a woman got pregnant and she gave birth, so maybe it goes back to a time like that. But when he comes and he does decapitate the child, and Parvati, Shakti comes out and she's actually becomes Kali, and she's so angry with him. And she says, you have to make my child alive. And so then the whole thing happens. He sends his emissaries and everyone out into the jungle to get the first living being and the first living creature, and so they get an elephant head. Now, when the elephant head is put, she still loves her child, and she makes him vow and promise that whenever there is a puja done anywhere, or worship is done anywhere in this world, first my son will be worshipped, and only after that will anyone else. So he says, okay. So here also you see a very great god like Shiva, and he's having to grapple with someone like Shakti. So even in the domestic sphere, you see such representations of Shakti in the Purans. In all the Purans, I have in all my various books, I have quoted them. You want the exact verse, you can go and see the exact verse. Much as I'd like to share more about Shiva and Shakti, my favorite topic, I need to go to the Yoginis. The Chaucet Yoginis, because you are all called Yoginis, the Chaucet Yoginis are absolutely fascinating. You cannot study Shiva without studying Yoginis, because they are also known as attendants of Shiva or attendants of Shakti, attendants of Durga. Yoginis, again, is a word that has been used loosely very often, but we actually had a tradition of Chaucet Yoginis. Chaucet is just a generic number. Otherwise, we have 81 also, Ekashiti, and we also have 42. And these, when we say this, we are talking about Namavalis, long list of names found in different Purans and in different ancient texts. And we are also talking of architectural temples. We are also talking about the round circular temples. It has absolutely delighted me to be here in this ashram where everything is circular. So the harmony of the circle, the way there's not one person, everybody is in harmony with each other. There's not one person sitting at the end of the table. That's why they say happy families should have round tables in their dining table. No one, the father is not the leader, the mother is not the leader. So here we have all these lovely circular structures. So Chaucet Yoginis, we started seeing them architecturally somewhere around 9th century CE. And they continued. The temples continued to be built till 12th century, and then suddenly they vanished. And the temples were completely derelict and destroyed willfully and covered with trees and bushes and everything. Nobody was worshipping there. What happened to the Yoginis? Why did they disappear? And it seems the more and more I studied the yogis, I found that even the kings who probably built those temples, because they're very expensive, they're beautiful temples, they're made out of brick and stone and different materials which must have been very expensive. Not some ordinary human being building them, but royalty building them. They don't want to admit that they are worshipping the yoginis. The practices, the tantric practices were so reviled at a particular time by certain sections of society that they had to hide it. So I went through 300 inscriptions of Madhya Pradesh because many yogini temples are situated in Madhya Pradesh. They're in UP, MP, they're also, we feel, in Tamil Nadu. We don't have the structure, but we have the images. So the yoginis, they possibly knew how to heal. That's why they're called yoginis. They know the art and skill of healing people. They know it's almost like magic. People felt it was magic. And maybe it was something similar to what happened in Salem, in America, the witches. Maybe they were looked upon as witches because we are told they were sorceresses. Their images are so beautiful. They're robust, they're voluptuous, big, they're life-size, they're sitting or they're standing, and they're absolutely magnificent to look at. What is really interesting is that there's 64 of them in a circle with individual niches, but no spouse. They are unspousified. All our female divinities had to be spousified at one point in history. Whether it was Sita, whether it was Lakshmi, whether it was Parvati, whether it was Shakti, all of them had to have spouses. All of them. But the yoginis are unspousified. They are individually worshipped, but in a group. They are group goddesses and they are worshipped in a group. And they all have, many of them have non-Sanskritic names. So it is very possible that they were taken from the hinterland. These are goddesses who are worshipped by the indigenous population who are now being brought into the Sanskrit world. Because it was not that Sanskrit moved into India all at the same time. It happened gradually. And so they're brought in. So what I found was when I was going through those 300 inscriptions, I found one inscription in which in the beginning the obeisance is to Om Namah Shivaya. It is to Shiva. And I kept reading about the who had built so-and-so temple, etc. And then I came, hidden in the inscription, there was this description of the yoginis. It's like they're trying to hide their worship of the yoginis. That if you chant the mantra this many times, then you will be able to fly in the sky, that you will be able to defeat everyone in battles, because that was the main reason why royalty seemed to worship the yoginis, because they gave them Shakti, because they gave them power. And one of the ones, Bheda Ghat in Jabalpur, Queen Alhana Devi, she has an inscription there. It's not exactly talking about the yoginis, but it's right there near the yogini temple. And she's saying that because my son was cured of an awful disease, therefore I am dedicating this structure to the goddesses. But she's not mentioned yoginis. She's saying to the goddesses. So probably they had the healing, they knew the remedies, they knew about animals, they knew about intuitions. I'm saying animals because many of them are animal-headed in different areas. Many of them are beautifully decorated with jewelry. Many of them are very, very plain. Many of them are very ferocious and very scary to look at. Many of them are beautiful. Some people have said maybe they are showing, because you have some like really hags, ladies with their breasts drooping and with their skeletal ribs, everything showing. They said maybe they are showing the different phases in a woman's life. Isn't that beautiful? You worship women in all ways, not just as a beautiful woman, not just as a young woman, but even as an old woman, even as an ugly woman. And so you see this all in the Chauset Yogini temple and in the Chauset Yoginis worship. And so now that you all are here as yoginis, I hope for you that you can take back with you the wonderful medicinal qualities that the yoginis seem to have in the past, the wonderful knowledge that they seem to have, the esoteric knowledge that gave them all these powers, that frightened people and therefore they had to disappear. I hope that stays with you. But along with that, when you take back, I would want you to have something that I always pray for myself, and that is Purnatva. I hope you feel along with this Shakti a feeling of wholesomeness, a feeling of being full, a feeling of being ready to conquer the world and to heal the world. Thank you very much.
Some matching to Thank you so much. Really, really a great honor to be here with him in his presence and just imbibe, a lot of good things that come our way. Just being in the space itself makes you feel really rejuvenated. And as we mentioned, after all the turmoils and whatever we've been facing, and we've still managed to come and reach here and start it off today with really auspicious manner. I think this just speaks of Shakti. And it's not only this location, even Parmarth Ashram, you will have the same kind of feeling. It's right on the banks. We are surrounded by the Ganga, and you can't get a more divine place than that. Every opportunity that comes to us doesn't knock twice. It comes only once. And at that time, I think it's our duty to just go for it, literally grab it, as my mother would say. This is the kind of atmospherics we are all creating for each one of you. And I hope that you will be able to, after 21 days, go back a different person with a lot of richness, intellectually and within yourself also. Thank you so much.